Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to watch a YouTuber's video. The video is called My Food Addiction Recovery Story. And the YouTuber's channel is called A Measure of Freedom. And what this story indicates or shows is progression from childhood to adulthood, dealing with food addiction and weight gain with weight loss. So this is actually a really good story that I wanted you guys to see. So with that being said, I'm going to pause my mouth and we'll hear the story.
Dear childhood me, you started out so young and free. You began life in innocence. But somewhere along the way you grew hungry for more. I remember your first binge, little me. We were at church. Sundays were always white knuckle days. We had an early breakfast and your parents would volunteer at church all morning. They would talk to other grown-ups after church. Lunch was sometimes not until 2 o'clock, especially if we didn't pick something up on the way home. And this meant you felt hungry and faint and you didn't get to eat. You felt true hunger. And so one day, when you were supposed to be watching the little children in the nursery, you were only in grade 3 or 4 at the time yourself, you decided to sneak away to the bathroom. And you saw it, the Costco-sized box of animal crackers. And you ate some. And then you ate more. And then you finished the open bag and opened the next one. You made further excuses to keep going back to the restroom and eating more and more crackers. I remember you overhearing the daycare workers talk to each other, worried that they couldn't find the snack for the kids, but you kept silent. And you felt guilty. But you didn't feel hungry. You had decided to satiate your hunger with that food. You learned that eating was a great way to deal with some of your inner struggles as a child when it came to friendships. I remember your first...
Grandma, we didn't get a cookie at daycare. Why, sweetie? That one girl ate all the cookies in the bag. I'm glad she put that in there. That's a great little story. Of course, it's a little sad when you're looking at it in total. Think about those poor kids that didn't get their cookies that day. That's horrible.
First crush. I remember how you kept that hidden inside of you because you felt like Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, completely unworthy of love because of your appearance. I remember how we were only attracted to boys who were skin and bones, our complete opposite. We couldn't help it. Perhaps, dear one, we were attracted to what appeared to be their freedom from what imprisoned us. The self-disgust with eating didn't begin until college, though. Luckily, I had discovered exercise for a few brief years, younger me. We were able to hide our binge eating because we were able to purge with exercise and starvation between binges. Those were the, quote, best years of our life so far, weren't they? I still remember those binges too. It was okay as long as someone else was binging their brains out with me at college, right? I still feel a little silly for having such vivid memories of various binges on specific NMFs with specific people. I realized I wasn't alone in my self-medicating with food. I had true binge buddies. But the binges I had alone at home gave us our first pangs of disgust and guilt, didn't they, younger me? I remember when your parents sat you down and said, "Look at us, genetics aren't on your side. You need to take care of yourself or you will end up with health problems like us." I remember rolling our eyes in a lighthearted way, but deep down we were already feeling totally powerless to the addictive pulls of food. The food was always your desired captor. Sometimes you found a way to purge your addiction with exercise or holy fasting. But sometimes you just let it take over. And sometimes you found ways to cheat the system with specific diets or eating plans that allowed you to binge on certain foods. It became clear that you could overeat almost anything and get that blissful feeling of comfort and shameful pang of disgust all at the same time.
She definitely had some internal conflict and stuff. Did you notice she said that sometimes she would do a diet because it allowed her to binge on foods? I'm kind of picturing her going on a diet like Atkins, where all of a sudden she can eat all the bacon and meat that she wants, and then maybe stopping that for a vegetarian diet so she can eat all the salads she wants. I can kind of picture her doing stuff like that. Yeah, very interesting story. I really think you guys will enjoy how it progresses.
But then you found bright line eating. You sat in disbelief as you saw another overweight woman look into her camera and say with the utmost sincerity, "I think this might actually work." You saw something you rarely saw in a fellow binger's face. Hope. Not just fleet inspiration or willpower, but something deeper, more tender and vulnerable. You bought the book, younger me. You read it, assuming you'd be able to assure yourself with another loophole in the quote-unquote diet. But when you got to the nitty-gritty details of the food plan, younger me, you threw the book down on the floor and resigned to the impossibility that this plan wasn't made for real people like you, just for people who were skinny on the inside and accidentally fat on the outside. Not true fatties like us. We're lifers. We're stuck in this box. How dare this Susan Pierce Thompson lady think she could change us? How long has she been overweight for anyway? What right does she think she has? But oh dear one, those weren't your words. Those were the words of a new part of yourself you were learning about, the part you would call at the time your saboteur. It wasn't your saboteur, dear one. We don't have a saboteur. It was your beloved food controller and indulger who were all tangled up together, but together they were controlling and soothing you with the food, and this new plan gave them no loopholes, so you resisted them for a couple of months. Are you glad for that fight, younger me? The one between you and your husband where he threw it in your face that you had bought this bright line eating book and that you're gonna finish it. Do you remember how angry and humiliated you felt? He was attacking your ADHD, your size, your addiction, and your spending all in one fell swoop. Though you know his heart was truly in the right place in that moment, it felt like a slap in the face. And it was. And dear younger me, it was the slap in the face that we needed. We did pick up the book, didn't we? We finished it the next day and signed up for the boot camp. You signed up and then you binged. You binged hard several times that week on various things that weren't necessarily outright sugar and flour. You tested the waters briefly by binging on healthier foods while we did the planning and preparation module. Then, day one. What a terrifying day it was. You had crossed the line in a meditation the night before, and it caught us off guard, didn't it, younger me? It actually came as a surprise to us. But once we had crossed the line, we couldn't turn back. We had stepped into a brighter reality. So we did our first day. We took photos of each meal and posted them on Instagram. We took some before photos. We did a meditation. I remember, younger me, how uncomfortable it was to try and get our legs to actually sit in a cross-legged position on the floor. I remember how we started crocheting a blanket with double crochet stitches, one after the other, stitch by stitch. We watched module videos and weekly vlogs and listened to coaching calls and recordings of coaching calls and more vlogs and more coaching calls and whatever bright line eating clips I could find until my next module would open up. I ate my bright meals and I crocheted and I parented and I slept. And then day two, I ate my bright meals, I parented, I crocheted, and I slept. I repeated this for almost 2 weeks before I realized I had a bit more energy to do other things. Dear younger me, I now identify with you because your bright transformation has already begun. So I may start talking about us as one.
If you're walking right now, stop and take a look and even rewind a little bit and take a look at some of these before and after pictures that we're seeing. You're seeing a person that just started a routine, right? She would do her crocheting, she would watch her materials about this particular diet, she would put it into practice. And instead of telling herself, I can't do this, this is impossible, she started telling herself, well, maybe I can do this, right? And lo and behold, when you tell yourself you can do something, guess what? You're right. And also, when you tell yourself you can't do something, you're probably right there as well, right? So be positive, always stay forward thinking, right? And let's see how this video finishes out. Very, very encouraging.
And the same now. I started to put myself out there in my boot camp house, and I formed a mastermind group. I remember feeling better, but still looking big. It didn't seem to matter, though, because of the mental clarity I now had. I also remember the exhaustion. I'm so glad we had the chance to actually take naps when we were tired. Younger me, you have no idea how much your amazing body was doing at the time. Thank you for taking those naps. My body is grateful that you showed up with kindness. Kindness, there's a concept you still didn't understand about our body. It was still you against our body. It was a desire to see most of your body disappear. And dear younger me, it would. Our body would shrink. But what you thought was a true part of yourself that you hated and wanted to be rid of was actually just the side effects of your addiction. And several weeks into our program, you realized you were an addict. It took you several more months to really come to terms with this, and even more time to realize that you had been dealing with full-blown binge eating disorder. But there it was, like looking back at a newsprint article of a bad car crash and thinking, how did I ever survive that? But you had, dear one. You had survived. Dear younger me, I could go on and on with the precious details of our bright transformation, but our identities are beginning to intertwine, and so we can continue this conversation together. Because, dear younger me, you are indeed myself. Sincerely, us.
I'm glad you guys got a chance to watch that with me, and I'm glad that she finished on this magical little line here, or maybe it's day one, right? We're on day 41, but if you're brand new, or excuse me, 40, what are we on? Day 42, I believe. If you're brand new and you're on day one with us, we love walking, we love drinking water, we love avoiding sugar, but we're not against other diets. You know what I mean? I don't really talk too much about dieting other than trying to get people to drink water and avoid sugar. So if you do any type of dieting outside of what we do, as long as it's working for you, I'm happy. I love stories like this because once upon a time, we used to tell ourselves, we can do this. I can lose weight. I don't necessarily have to go to the doctors, right? I don't have to get a prescription. I don't necessarily have to go this route. Now I feel like we don't have that same confidence that we used to, that same swag that we used to back in the day. But when I see videos like this, it gives me hope. So why don't you grab your shoes? Let's go for a walk. Let's do this. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a happy Sunday. I am recording this Saturday morning, so I'm assuming that you'll be watching this Sunday. Some of you guys like to skip an occasional day and make up for it the following day, so if that's you, happy Monday or Tuesday, whenever you get to this video. Remember, even though I'm walking 7 days a week, there's nothing wrong if you want to work your legs out 6 days a week and take an occasional day off. Just know I'll be here. That's the goal. The key with walking is you don't want to view walking like you would a workout. At a workout, it's really a good thing to work out every other day or 3 or 4 days a week. But with walking, if you only walk every other day or every 2 or 3 days, you're never going to quite put it into a full-blown routine. And one of the things that you have to do with this program, at least, is try to at least give me 15 or 21 days in a row where you take your walk, because then that way you start to see that, hey, it's not such a pain in the butt to put it into my schedule. It's not such a pain to have walking as part of my daily routine. And pretty soon, it'll be part of your routine that you don't want to stop. Just like brushing your teeth. Now, I know some of you don't like to brush your teeth every day, but you should. And I think, hopefully my listeners like to brush their teeth every day. But I think in addition to brushing your teeth every day, you'll find that you like walking every day too. It's just like putting our clothes on, right? We all put our pants on one leg at a time. And many of us like to add walk to our daily schedule, so you won't be the only one. Sometimes it's challenging being the only one doing something, you know? When you're out and about walking and you're holding a camera, sometimes it's real easy to get a little intimidated and not want to hold a camera. But you know what I noticed? There's so few people out here that most of my neighbors probably have no idea that I'm even walking around holding a camera. And that might have been you a couple weeks ago. Never left your house. Now you have. Is there any houses in your neighborhood that maybe you never really took notice of till you started walking, and now you're like, wow, I love how they did their front yard. Ooh, look at this little addition they added to their house. There's so many of your neighbors that have these wonderful ideas. And you got to remember, when you're watching Better Homes and Gardens, your neighbors might be watching stuff like that too, and it might inspire them, and they might apply that inspiration to their homes. And then when you're on your walk, you can get new ideas for your place. You know? A lot of people will do that every couple years. They'll change the look of their house, or they'll change the landscaping in the front or backyard. If you're thinking about doing that and one of your neighbors inspired you, maybe put something in the comments. Do any of your neighbors have absolutely gorgeous houses that you just stumbled upon because you never went and walked in that part of the neighborhood before? Are you taking different routes? Jules Johnson, one of our newer viewers from Canada, I know you recently took a little bit of a trip where you were walking around lakes and stuff. Is that the same as your current neighborhood, or is it completely different? And if so, do you find yourself enjoying walking anywhere you go? Mala, you said you took a little vacay the other day, or a little trip, and that you were listening to me while you were walking on your vacation. I say vacay or trip because sometimes we can take a trip somewhere and it's not necessarily a vacation. But, you know, if you guys are getting to the point where even when you're not at home, you still want to get outside and take your daily walk, that is an excellent sign. Sherry Ann, I wanted to let you know that one of the things I admire about you is that your brain is always thinking that next step, right? You took Trainer Joe's diet and exercise plan and you said, you know what? This might be something I want to run with. And Sherry Ann, if it is something you want to run with, God bless you. I wish you the best of luck. Use us to walk and get your mind straight, right? And use Trainer Joe's to lose that weight that you want. And good for you. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do anything. And at the same time, if you do end up trying his workout and it does do a killer job for you, make sure you keep us posted on it, okay? Because a lot of people might be willing to try it, but they want to see somebody else like you go through it first. And as long as you go into it knowing, hey, this diet of Trainer Joe's is a little extreme, borderline impossible for some, but very much doable for others, you know, you got a chance of succeeding at it. Another thing is his weight loss plan was designed for people that are kind of 100 pounds overweight. If you find that you're only 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight, you might not have to do it so extremely. You might get away with doing his diet on the weekends. You know, that's what's amazing about his plan is it sounds like that diet would be something that you might be able to slowly incorporate, kind of baby step your way on, right? And that is the key with a lot of things. I think what happens is we get so frustrated with the way we look or the way we feel that we jump into gym memberships and we jump into, you know, the latest and greatest YouTubers' plan to get in better shape, and we don't necessarily think it out. In your case, you went and got Trainer Joe's book and you read about it, you watched the videos, and you're doing the right thing. You're doing your homework and you're seeing if it's something that you want to do. And I don't think anyone can blame you. And I know that you have teammates here that are waiting to see how you do. So good for you, Sherry Ann. That's the key with everything, guys, is sometimes things don't work for us. Do we want to give up on everything because some things don't work? Heck no. That's just like marriage. If you catch me on a bad day, I'll say I'm happily divorced and I never want to get married again. But if you catch me on a good day, I would say, why would I ever close my mind to getting married again? Things that make you want to get married are when you meet a wonderful person. You should never want to give up on that, just like you should never want to give up on your health. I believe that every one of us has that perfect human being. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to find him out here walking. I don't know if you're going to find him walking either, but wouldn't that be magical if you did? God, that's one of those where you'd start believing that fate has something to do with our lives. By the way, we have probably a good dozen or two walkers, right, that are consistently walking. Have you met any new friends walking? Tell me a little bit about your travels. Because one thing I notice, and keep in mind I've been walking a long time, one thing I notice is sometimes you'll see other people walking consistently, and then for whatever reason they kind of disappear. I don't know if that's because they've moved or they decided that walking was a fad that they're done with or what, but that's also interesting. I can keep track of people after a while when there's only a handful of walkers. Have you thought about purchasing a dog? God, this weekend might be a good time to go down and grab a newspaper. A newspaper? What's that? Grab whatever you have to do to see if you can maybe purchase a dog this weekend. Dogs are an excellent way to get a walk in. And when it comes to training your dog, just see if you can get the dog to walk with you for long distances without having to sniff every house, you know? Because that's the one problem with dogs, right? If you walk with them, they like to stop every 10 or 15 feet to take a piss and sniff something. I know humans like that. We all know humans like that. They're always sniffing something and taking a pee where they shouldn't. So there's this one thing in this tree right here that always tripped me out. It's like a nest. But when I think of nests, I think of like brown leaves and brown twigs that are like dried out. This one looks half fresh, and sometimes it looks completely green. I don't know if you can see it right there, but that thing looks almost like a suspended bush in the middle of the air if you didn't see the little branch there that goes with it. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, that is fascinating, because it was just such a giant nest. I'm used to seeing nests that are like maybe the size of your hand, you know, for smaller birds. That looks like an eagle's nest or something crazy. We got some people at the park. It's about 8:30 Arizona time. Normally I'd be out here about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours earlier. But I kind of overslept, and since it's Saturday morning, I gave myself permission to sleep in. Nothing wrong with sleeping in a little bit on the weekend. Are you guys night owls? Are you watching Walk Talk Vent at midnight or 2 in the morning? Just for fun, if you could, in the comments, maybe let me know what time you usually watch the show. And if it just depends on whenever you're in the mood, tell me that too. I am going to go ahead and get myself on the scale and take a picture of it again. I think I'm down to 177 again, fingers crossed. I'll tell you one thing that I'm noticing though. When I first started, my arms had a real marshmallowy feel. But since I've been doing a couple of calisthenics, I do like 10, 12 push-ups a day. And I also go to the gym every once in a blue moon, probably once or twice a week, and just kind of work on different muscle groups, but not the way I did when I was 20. It's really like if you saw me at the gym, you'd be like, oh my God, is that even working out, you know? Because I have different goals than I used to. My goal right now is just to get rid of the pudginess, and in my arms and upper body, and with the way my clothes feel, I'm getting a lot of the same side effects that you guys are, those really good side effects where all of a sudden your clothes feel a little bit looser. I know this sounds crazy, but if you're 5 to 10 pounds less, you know, you're probably a little bit cooler outside. The heat probably doesn't affect you as much as it would if you had that extra 10 pounds on you. GL, you sent us a comment today, I think it was GL, that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get a weighted vest. Yeah, get a weighted vest. If it makes you feel like the same weight that you were, and that way you're building up the same sweat, that might be a great idea. Now, if you find out that vest makes your walk miserable, you know, maybe you can reevaluate that going forward, because it's going to get warm outside. Sometimes that vest is going to make it where you feel 5 or 10 degrees warmer, which is probably good if you're trying to burn off sweat, but make sure you're hydrated. You know, these are the These are the times of year where you can get dehydrated while you're walking. And sometimes we make big goals like, hey, I'm going to take my walk from half an hour to an hour and a half this weekend. If that's something you're contemplating doing, maybe take a little bottle of water with you. Sip on it as you're going. Another thing that you can do, and I found this out from one of those Survivor series like Alone, is that you can take your water and you can just guzzle it right before you go on your walk. That way your water's in your system, so to speak. So there's two trains of thought on that. And that was based on somebody getting lost in the desert. Do you just drink your water so you have it within you, or do you sparingly sip on it? And the reason that some people suggest you just drink your water is because they've found people dead in the desert with half a bottle of water left, right? They were trying to conserve that water a little too much, and they ended up perishing without finishing their bottle. And then on top of that, I believe when you're dehydrated, sometimes your body doesn't even realize you're dehydrated. You know, you're not necessarily craving water. But that's where you got to look for the signs. You know, if you pee and your pee is really, really yellow or even brown, you're probably dehydrated. Sip on some water. And it's really easy to get hydrated. You literally just guzzle a bottle of water and pretty soon you'll find out they're no longer pissing dark. And if you are pissing dark consistently, up your water. You're not drinking enough. And if you are drinking nothing but water and you're still peeing dark, go to your doctors and say, what the hell is wrong with my piss? I see bird wars every now and then. I'm never able to catch them on camera, but occasionally you'll see one bird chasing another bird away, like from their nest or something, and it's kind of comical because the chasing bird's always trying to peck the other bird in the ass. If you've ever seen that, let me know. It looks really funny sometimes because it literally looks like birds are playing tag or something with each other. But I don't think they're doing it in a friendly way, if you know what I mean. Oh my God, there's that breeze. Is it ever warm where you're at and then you walk in the shade at the same time that you get a gust of breeze and it's just like, wow, that's nature's air conditioning. Hey, here's a quick question I haven't asked you guys in a long time. Since you've been walking consistently, since you've been losing weight, do you notice you breathe through your nose a little bit better? And if you do breathe through your nose a little bit better, you probably are finding the same thing I do, that it's super duper enjoyable just to kind of be quiet at times and breathe through your nose. But Jesse, you're never quiet. I know. I talk too much. I get it. But if you didn't hear my annoying voice talking endlessly, you might stop walking. And if my voice keeps your legs moving, let's do this. My voice is here at your beck and call, guys. So to my knowledge, the youngest listener I have is Francisco. 32 is their age. I'm not sure if Francisco is a boy or a girl. I think it's a boy, but I'm not 100% sure. And so if you're younger than 32, please let us know, because according to my analytics, everybody that watches is 30 years old and older. So if you're in your 20s, let me know. That'd be trippy to find out we got a walker that's only 20 years old or something. That'd be really, really cool. Let me know. I'll put your name on the next video. So I'm a firm believer that there's more to weight than just diet and exercise. I'm a firm believer that many of us have a good 10 or 15 pounds on us because of stresses that we've dealt with in life. So when you're watching my reaction videos, there's so much more that I want to show than just people's diets, than just people's side effects. I want to show little people that have great advice for saving money. I want to show people that have great advice for getting out of debt. Those are things that, man, they weigh us down. You know, if you can't walk on the weekends because you're taking on some overtime work, you know, God bless you. I know that you're not in a spot where you necessarily love doing overtime. Sometimes you have to do overtime. And if overtime pays you time and a half and it's good money for you, you're doing the right thing by you and your family, you know? Sometimes you just gotta skip a walk. It's just the way it is. What I would recommend though is if you can take advantage of probably my number one tip, guys, if you can take advantage of using your job as a catalyst for your walk. In other words, even on the weekends, if you're doing overtime, if you don't get out the door till 8 o'clock to go to your job, there's really nothing stopping you from waking up a little early and going on your walk. If there's any of you that are quitting coffee, let me know how that's been going. I never had a coffee addiction, so a lot of times when I'm like, hey, just get off the sugar and coffee, you know, I'm talking naively. I don't know how challenging it is to get off that. Here's the thing though, the addictive additive in coffee is caffeine, right? And caffeine's in soda, and I did quit soda, so I assume that caffeine is caffeine, right? And you know as well as I do, even if it's super difficult for you to quit caffeine and coffee today, it doesn't mean that it stays difficult forever. You know, 3, 4, 5 days later, you might be totally over it. And I'll tell you what, if you're a Starbucks junkie, like some of my friends, God, I've heard some Starbucks bills that rival gasoline bills for the month. If you're going to Starbucks 3 or 4 times a week, spending $8 to $15 a pop, God, do you realize how much money you'll be able to save if you can just chop that down? Make Starbucks that Friday special thing rather than an everyday needed thing? That could be fascinating, you know? I like when money seems tight and impossible, and then you tweak a couple things, and before you know it, you're like, wow, I just found a way to create an extra $100 in savings a month. If you can start going positive, even as little as 50 or $100 a month, you know as well as I do, these months fly by. You'll eventually look in your savings account and there won't be $50 in there anymore. Eventually you'll look and there'll be thousands of dollars. You know, as little as $10 a week, as horrible as that sounds, right? If you're only able to send $10 a week, but if you are, save it. That's $500 a year. You know? Why do I think that's big? Well, if the average person only has $400 in their savings account, then $500 is even better. And besides, you got to remember, our brains are unique and weird. When you start saving money, your brain no longer sees it as some impossible mountain to climb. Your brain starts to say, I want to do that again. Right? So $500 saved, pretty soon you're saving $1,000 a year. Because that's what'll happen. You'll be like, hey, look at what happened with me just saving 10 or 15 bucks a week. I'm going to up that to 25 or 30 bucks a week. And before you know it, you're a successful adult. I think that's firmly the difference between successful adults and non-successful adults. The successful adults, when they have a problem with their car, they take it in and get it fixed. Not so successful adults push it, and the car ends up getting more and more expensive to fix. So I have family members that love going to their buddies that are mechanics, and you might have a guy, right? The problem with your buddy that's a mechanic is you have to make sure that he's a legit mechanic and knows what to do, because otherwise, you know, your car could take 5 or 6 days to fix rather than 2 or 3 hours, you know? And sometimes you think that they fixed it and really they just put a Band-Aid on it, and before you know it, the problem's back. And now you got to go to that friend and say, hey, fix this or give me my money back. And before you know it, you've lost a friend. So always be careful. And trust me, if you ask enough people, they'll tell you a horror story about their family mechanic that ended up, you know, not really knowing what he or she was doing. I've heard some weird doozy stories through the years, and I'm sure you guys have had some junker clunker cars and some stories too through the years. It's always nice when you have a reliable car. And man, when you have one of those cars where you just feel like it's gonna die every time you drive it, that is the most stressful thing in the world. If you're in that situation, instead of forcing things and making the car, need repairs, contemplate taking the bus. Contemplate taking an Uber, If your car is all paid for, but it's about to break down, take an Uber. It might be cheaper than actually buying a new car outright. Because from what I understand, and I know this firsthand because I have a vehicle, insurances are going up because repairs are going up. Everything is designed to kind of break you, or at least it feels like that, doesn't it? So what you want to do is you want to become unbreakable. Well, why, Jesse? That's not going to help my weight. It is going to help your weight. Because when you start having problems that you're able to conquer, it feels super successful. I've had some issues that I've had to conquer with cash, right? And what I mean by that is bills that pop up out of the blue. When you can start handling them and just going right back to your business, that's a win. Otherwise, they become these obstacles that slow down progress. And if you're trying to walk and you're trying to eat well and you're trying to do A, B, and C, and then all of a sudden you have this catastrophic repair, it's going to make you lose pace. And it's going to be the reason that 2 or 3 weeks later you find that you're not walking and you're not doing your diet, and you're stressing out again. We don't want to make it where you do 2 or 3 weeks here and it's just a waste of time. We want to make it where you really add this to your life, and there's reasons that you do. One of the reasons I do is because even if I'm broke, hypothetically, I still see my walk as entertaining. This is literally the time when I think about things. And I haven't been thinking about things lately because I'm always talking to you guys. Jeez Louise. But I make goals. You guys make goals too. A lot of times you guys are like, hey, I'm going to save up for my end of the year vacation. Nothing wrong with that at all. All I would say is save up double. That way when you go on vacation, you come home and you still have more money ready for you when you get back. And listen, if you're one of these types that has absolutely no troubles financially, then just ignore what I'm saying. I'm talking for the people that do have troubles. If you have troubles, you know as well as I do, it's really easy to feel like you've got this impossible mountain to climb. But I'm telling you, just a couple little tricks get things really, really changing. I'm going to be doing a list of my top 5 anti-depressing YouTubers. And it'll be, I think I'm going to put it up tonight, but I have to work on it, so it might never happen. The most important thing is that I put up our walking video, right? But I'm going to put some YouTubers up that really helped pep me up when I was feeling depressed. And a lot of these YouTubers you probably haven't heard of, so I'm hoping that you enjoy them just as much as I do. These are the type of YouTubers that you literally can feel like crap, and before you know it, you're like, wow, I'm ready to tackle the world. I feel good again. And that's what we need, Sometimes we don't give YouTube credit. Sometimes we say, oh my God, people are on their phone and they're antisocial. But if you're watching stuff on YouTube that betters your life, I don't think there's anything bad about that, right? For example, if you're actually walking with me and a YouTuber, me, got you into a walking routine, that's a heck of a YouTuber. And he holds this 40-pound camera with one arm, kind of like Popeye. Oh my goodness, give him a sub. Give him a sub and a share and a like. Let's do this. If you're brand new to the channel, you might be wondering, where does the exercise advice come in? I never hear anything. That's the key to exercising, guys. It's just like a job. If you love your job, you never work another day in your life. If you love your exercise plan, it doesn't really feel like exercise. And I don't know about you, but when I'm walking, I don't feel like this is exercise at all. This is the easiest, smoothest thing to do. If you have white, pasty skin, you get a little tan. And it just feels great walking. This is honestly the best thing you can do in the world. I think even if you never tried dieting ever, I still think you should walk. And remember, some of us are ticking time bombs, guys. Some of us are just designed to die early based on genetics. But that doesn't mean you should just sit idly by and wait for it to happen. Get out and walk. Is there a chance I'll keel over one day while I'm walking? Well, I suppose. But again, I'm sure everybody and their mother would say that doesn't give you a reason to stop. Keep going. If you're stressing out, you know, sometimes people can stress out, get real mad, and that can push them into a heart attack or a stroke. If you're stressing out and getting mad, put your shoes on. Go for a quick 5 or 10 minute walk down the street and back just to reset yourself. Sometimes our spouses like to argue with us. Sometimes we like to argue with them. Arguments can go from ha-ha, jokey to screw you and, you know, really get mad and irritated. Go on a walk. Half of that irritation is from you. Okay? Remember, if you want the world to change, you got to look at the man in the mirror. You got to look within. That's how we change the world.